Gentlemen, start your engine!
On RPM tonight, the mix of emotions at Loudon ranged from sadness to frustration to elation as Tim Fedewa won the Busch 200 from the pole, his first victory of the year. At the Brickyard, all eyes are focused on the Borg-Warner Trophy as teams prepare to do battle at the 84th running of the Indianapolis 500. Before they could make a run at Indy, Team Ganassi had to take care of business in Japan, where they were dominant all day, until it counted most. All Chip Ganassi could do was watch as both of his drivers had their share of problems. That opened the door for Michael Andretti, who was able to cruise to his first win of the season in the Kart FedEx Championship Series. RPM Tonight, next.
Going green this time by, going green this time by. Bring them down.
Hello, everyone. I'm John Kernan, along with Benny Parsons. Welcome to RPM Tonight. More than 1,000 friends, relatives, and members of the NASCAR family paid their respects to Adam Petty Monday at a memorial service in High Point, North Carolina. Petty died Friday from injuries suffered in a single-car crash during Busch Series practice at the New Hampshire International Speedway. The Petty family pastor read recollections from Adam's family during the service. His 18-year-old brother Austin said, "All his dreams and waking moments on this earth, from the time he was a little kid, I can remember that all he wanted to do was race. He wanted to grow up and be a race car driver, just like Daddy." Well, Benny Parsons, you were at today's memorial service. What lasting memory did you take from there?
That's exactly the memory I came away from there, that Adam Petty wanted more than anything else in the world to be a race car driver. He'd accomplished that goal, then he wanted to carry on the Petty name.
What about his father, Kyle? Do you think we'll see him take some time off from racing?
That's very difficult because, you know, we can say we know what Kyle's going through, but folks, we have no idea what the man is going through, and Patty and Montgomery Lee and Austin. So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Kyle misses a few races. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back and races this weekend. But, you know, whatever he wants to do, he will make up his mind. I'm sure he'll talk to his father, to Richard, and they'll make up their mind what he needs to do.
You know, Benny, the one thing that has just bothered me about this, I mean, it was New Hampshire. It's a 1-mile track. They're not going that fast there that you would expect a serious accident like this.
Well, you know, I think of two things. Number one, I think of Martinsville Speedway when the Featherlight Modified Tour lost their biggest champion in Richie Evans at Martinsville Speedway, a half-mile racetrack. And I saw Randy LaJoy today at the hospital, asked him how he was feeling. And, folks, he was moving awfully slow and said that the wreck that he had at Loudon on Saturday hurt him worse, was harder than the blow he had at Talladega. Remember when he and Dick Trickle got together at Talladega, going down in turn one? He said the one at Loudon hurt worse than Talladega.
Now, do we have any idea exactly what caused Adam's accident on Friday?
No, all the eyewitness people that saw it, it looked like that the throttle hung going down in turn 3. But I talked to some folks, they said when the car came back, the throttle wasn't hung, and it worked freely. So right now, it's anyone's guess as what might have happened.
Now, we've covered other deaths in auto racing, but I can't remember one that has seemed to have affected the entire community the way that Adam's death has. Why is that?
The name is Petty. I mean, his last name was Petty, and there has been a Petty in NASCAR Winston Cup racing ever since it began back in 1949. So I don't care how old or how young you are, you've always associated the name Petty with NASCAR Winston Cup racing.
If you were still driving, Benny, something like that happening to such a young person just starting out his career, would it make you reconsider being a race car driver?
Oh, no. No, because, again, that's what I wanted to do, that's what Adam wanted to do, and people that jump in these race cars, I mean, that's what they live to do, to get in and race those cars, just like bullfighters or all the people that climb mountains. Why in the world would you want to go up Mount Everest and all that snow and ice? But people do it, and they love that challenge, just like race car drivers love the challenge of getting in the car around the racetrack and trying to beat that guy behind him.
All right, Benny, thank you very much. Coming up a little bit later on, we've got some email questions about some safety issues in the cars.
All right, John.
Practice continued Monday for the 84th running of the Indianapolis 500. And Robbie Gordon just moments ago posted the fastest lap so far, 223.12 miles an hour. Al Unser Jr. also late in practice, second fastest on the day, 221.861. Mid-afternoon, Greg Ray winds up third, 221.735. Then it's Eddie Cheever, Scott Harrington, and Buddy Lazier. Marlo Quinn is covering all the action at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for us. She joins us now from there. Marlo, it was a quick turnaround for the Target Chip Ganassi team, having to travel from halfway around the world to get to Indianapolis. But from the looks of things in today's practice, they're in pretty good shape, aren't they?
Well, I think they're in very good shape, John. They arrived here early there, or a little bit later this morning. They did get out to the Speedway this afternoon. They shook down the cars a little bit. Jimmy Vasser put up a speed of 220.1 miles an hour. Juan Montoya, 219.2. As I said, they were just shaking down the cars, and they said that the turnaround from kart cars to IRL cars shouldn't be too tough for them here.
So like I've said it before, there's more similarities and differences, and you know, we have bigger differences sometimes when we go from a street circuit in the Champ Car to a super speedway. So it's just, you take the matter at hand and you adapt and you get to work and you work with it and you try to make it as fast as you can.
We tested here twice before and the cars are good. You know, we don't have engineers here today. You know, so it's all right. We're just shaking down the car. Did about 5 laps on each car. I did 2 up to speed, and it's good, you know, not rush.
Well, I'm now joined by Chip Ganassi because his 2 drivers, Juan Montoya and Jimmy Vasser, are back at their hotel getting a little rest. Chip, this has been a wild 48 hours for your team.
It really has, Marlo. You know, unfortunately the race got rained out on Saturday in Motegi, Japan, and so we were delayed there until Sunday, of course. And we had a pretty good race going on Sunday there, but unfortunately it wasn't our day for the target team. But we were, some of us got out of Motegi pretty quick and we're back in Indianapolis last evening. Jimmy and Juan didn't arrive here until this morning, actually. So they were a little bit tired, but they wanted to get in and shake the cars down a little bit.
Because they didn't want to fly business class? Is that what I heard?
You know, there were, well, you know, as you can imagine, the entire circus there was trying to change their flights quickly to accommodate the rain out for Sunday. So yeah, there weren't all the seats weren't available, I guess, that were previously booked.
Today, as they were shaking down their cars, their crew they're not even back yet from Japan. They're going to be here tomorrow, is that right?
Right, that's true. The rest of the crew doesn't arrive here in Indianapolis till 8 o'clock tonight. So we had our test team here, and they've done a great job preparing the 4 cars, you know, for this weekend's qualifying. And the guys basically got in them, shook them down, made sure there's no leaks or you know, just that the cars really work. And tomorrow we'll start fine-tuning.
There is some rain in the forecast for this week. What's the schedule for you guys? How are you going to play out this week?
Well, I don't know. You know, it's kind of like, I think if you have a schedule in the beginning of the week in Indianapolis, at least in years past, we've found that schedule can be changed, you know, with no help of your own. So I think the important thing in your schedule is to have a good enough schedule that you get enough track time, but at the same time you're flexible as to what you can accomplish when you'd like to, you know, you can shift gears fast. If you can do that in your plan, you're ready for any eventuality here at Indianapolis. At least that's what we think.
How different is this place this time around from when you have been here in the past?
Well, it's you know, the cars are certainly different, and but you know, the people are just as nice as they always are around here, and certainly in the Midwest here, and you know, our team's based in Indianapolis here, so it's like we never left, really. And it's good to be at a racetrack. I mean, this going from racetrack to racetrack isn't a bad life right now, but certainly we have a job to do, and we're here to do it.
All right, thanks a lot, Chip. We'll see what his guys can do on the track tomorrow. Today, it was Robbie Gordon who was the quickest. You may remember last year while Robbie Gordon was leading on lap 199, he had to come in for fuel. Kenny Breck took the checkered flag on lap 200, just the next lap. Robbie Gordon returns here to the Speedway this year as Greg Ray's teammate with Team Menard, but once again, he's still looking for that first win.
This year, we're going to learn from mistakes and hopefully eliminate those problems, and hopefully no new problems step up into the equation. You know, I think the most important thing is this week, you know, first part of the week is to run between 11 and 3, and those are the times we race, so that's going to be the important time to drive the race car.
Buddy Lazier drove O'Reilly and Scott to a win and a second-place finish in 2 of the first 3 races of the season. However, his Himmelgarn team felt after testing here at the Speedway, the chassis didn't pack enough punch on this 2.5-mile oval. Instead, he is running a Delora this May.
My guys are doing a good job. They're giving me what I need, and that makes all the difference in the world. It's tough. It's tough when you're struggling with the race car from a competitor's point of view, but when the car's right, you know, it actually is kind of fun. I mean, it's really a lot of fun. So you're always on the edge, so you're nervous, but it's fun when the car's right, and our car's working pretty good.
Richie Hearn returns to competition and the Speedway as the driver for Pagan Racing. Hearn last ran here in 1996, finishing 3rd. This will be Hearn's first race since last season's kart finale in Fontana.
I haven't done any racing this year at all, and you know, it's not something I'm used to. I'm used to racing all the time. But on the other side of it, you know, I'm able to have some time off to really kind of to recharge myself, and I'm really excited about, you know, racing here at the 500.
The much maligned Infiniti power plant continues to improve. Eddie Cheever is one of only 2 Infiniti drivers trying to make the field. So far, Cheever has run some of the fastest speeds of the week.
Menards and Kellys have focused to have engines that are good for qualifying. And they've been very successful at it. The way the IRL is structured, they get points for it, so it's worthwhile. But I don't believe we have the opportunity to do that. And I think to put, you know, to think we're going to would be a wasteful use of our time. But yes, we're in a good position. I would like very much to qualify in the first 2 rows. That would be a very successful qualifying for us.
As far as the amount of endurance testing we've done, working on a combination of both durability and speed, it's been very good. We're seeing the benefits of Nissan committing to the Infiniti Indy program and us getting to work harder and getting more competitive.
Tice Carlson was in a crash here yesterday. He suffered a concussion and a bruised left foot. Hayashi Matsuda will replace him in the car for the 500 this year.
All right, Marla, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you again on Tuesday's show.
Thanks, John.
Still to come on RPM tonight, Michael Andretti bounces back with a win in Japan. And when we come back, an emotional win for Tim Fedewa at New Hampshire. NASCAR officials announced Monday that they had penalized the number 03 Busch Series car for a fuel violation at the Richmond race. NASCAR suspended crew chief David Lackey and fined owner-driver Ken Alexander $10,000. And by the way, Alexander failed to qualify for that race. After winning the pole position at New Hampshire on Friday afternoon, Tim Fedewa said all he could do was go out and win the race on Saturday for Adam Petty. And that's exactly what he did, dominating the event and then taking advantage of the slip-ups by Steve Park and Casey Atwood to pick up his first win of the season. It also marked Tim's first top 5 finish of the year. Jeff Green's second-place run Saturday at Loudon allowed him to add to his point lead, which is now 83 over Todd Bodine. Matt Kenseth has made only 10 starts, but he has 2 wins and sits in the 3rd position. 2-time series champ Randy LaJoie occupies the 4th spot, followed by Ron Hornaday and Jason Keller. Tim Fedewa joins us now. And Tim, congratulations on what had to be just an extremely emotional win.
Well, it was a tough weekend all around, to say the least. You know, hearing about Adam's untimely death on Friday and then getting the pole and just a lot of things happening. And then the race, really none of us wanted to race, but we knew we had our jobs to do and we had to. And unfortunately, I guess, or fortunately enough, the show had to go on. We were just, every one of the drivers, crew members, I think even the fans were in shock, even still Saturday, the day of the race. And it was an emotional time.
Were you thinking about Adam at all during the race?
Well, on the yellows, yes. I think, you know, I thought I was the only one, I guess, when I was out there. And I kept telling myself, maybe I shouldn't be thinking about this. I should be focusing on. But once I got out of the car and after the race, I talked to Todd Bodine. Todd said he was thinking. I talked to Randy LaJoie. He had thought about Adam on the cautions. And I think Adam really was with us all.
When a tragic accident like that occurs, does it ever make you second guess what you're doing as a job?
It hasn't to me, and I don't think it has to any race car driver. We like racing. It's our passion. I think it's not just a job. And I'm a firm believer that when the good Lord wants you, the good Lord's going to take you and put you to work for Him up there in that great place. So I don't think it would have mattered if Adam would have been in a race car or not.
Well, now let's talk about your passion, the race. Your car was absolutely dominant most of the day, but then kind of there at the end, pit strategy and things, you had some guys out in front of you. After dominating the race the way you had, were you a little worried that you had some traffic in front of you in the late stages?
Well, we were. I mean, we pitted, I think, with 80 to go, and we knew we needed to pit. And when I come down pit road, I think only a couple cars followed me and everybody else stayed out. And I was almost second-guessing my crew chief, Billy Nazowitz, but I didn't. I stuck with it. I said, this is what we decided to do. We got a great car. We're going to just go out and win this race any way we can. And it all worked out. I mean, with about 20 to go, Buckshot had a half-track lead on me, and I was thinking, well, I don't think this is it. And he run out of gas. A couple of other cars run out of gas. We had some late cautions. The red flag, we were in 3rd, and from there on, like, Casey and Steve got together, and I was able to get under them. So it all worked out for the best.
Were you surprised when you saw Steve and Casey get together?
Well, I knew they had older tires on, and I had 4 fresh ones, not fresh at the time, but better tires, and I wasn't surprised. I knew they were both going to be guarding their line, and I knew Casey wanted around him awful bad, so I was just happy to get that Stanley Chevrolet to victory lane.
Now, you guys have struggled this year.
To say the least.
Yeah, you pick up the win. What's that do for the team?
Well, it's just a big boost. They work so hard at the shop. I mean, I got a great bunch of guys, and our performances hasn't really shown what we can do until this week. They work hard on their pit stops. We had 2 pit stops the other day that were both 16-second stops for a Busch team. I mean, that's really getting it. So I was proud of them guys, and they deserve to hold their heads high.
Now, you've made some, there have been some changes within the team structure in the last month, right?
Well, yeah, we added Billy Nazowitz, the crew chief, and since he's come on, he's just brought a lot of experience and a lot of, I think he just gives the guys confidence in themselves. He's detailed their jobs so they know what they're doing a little bit more, and it's just gave me a little bit more confidence knowing that I got someone back at the shop making the right calls, someone in the pit making the right calls, and we're not second-guessing anything we do anymore.
Now, you have this weekend off to prepare for Charlotte. You guys all live down in this area. It's a big race for you. Do you feel that week off you guys are going to need to prepare for it, or do you have that momentum on your side
well,
now?
we definitely have momentum, and that's probably the single most important thing in racing, I think. And we also tested there last week, so felt pretty good about it, run pretty well. Charlotte's a big, tough race. All these Busch races are tough. I mean, just to make them, and we put ourselves in a hole early on. So now we're trying to dig ourselves out, and we're just going one race at a time.
Now, speaking of that test last week, what exactly did you concentrate on? Because you guys have a lot of laps there at Charlotte.
We just concentrate on qualifying, purely qualifying. We just made lap after lap after lap in qualifying trim, just trying to get that one perfect lap that'll hopefully get us in good position for the race.
Well, Tim, thanks for coming down to see us.
Thank you, John.
And best of luck to you the rest of the year. When we come back, a pop-off valve problem cost Juan Montoya a shot at almost certain victory in Japan. For the first time this season, Paul Tracy did not finish on the podium as the Card FedEx Championship Series raced this past weekend at Twin Ring Motegi in Japan. But Tracy still holds a fairly comfortable 14-point lead over both Jimmy Vasser and Roberto Moreno. Late last week, Michael Andretti was penalized the points he earned at Rio for making contact with his crewman. 4 years ago, when Michael was penalized for rough driving at Long Beach, he went out and won 3 of the next 4 races. This past weekend in Japan, Andretti again bounced back from a penalty to visit victory lane. Andretti's 39th career win came a day late and almost didn't come at all. Saturday, during pre-race warm-ups, the throttle sensor failed. And with less than 60 minutes till the start of the race, Andretti and company decided to go to a backup car. There was just one problem. The backup car was stuck in gear. Then, as if a sign from above, the skies opened and the rain came, postponing the race for 24 hours and giving Andretti's crew time to repair the primary car.
Yesterday, had it not rained, would you have had any chance to be in this position because you had problems with both the primary and the backup car in that very short warm-up session?
Well, I have confidence that we would have because I think, you know, our spare car would have been okay, but you just don't want to take that chance. You know, I have a lot of confidence in the Kmart Texaco guys that they would have given me the same car, but we just thought we wouldn't push it.
When the green flag dropped, Andretti wasted no time, showing he was a contender. He piloted his car from his 8th starting spot to 3rd on the very first lap.
Well, I just had a good start. I had a good run around the outside of a couple of guys, and, you know, it was good.
Andretti was content to ride in 3rd for most of the race behind the dominant Ganassi tandem of Juan Montoya and Jimmy Vasser. Vasser's strong run ended with a blown motor on lap 127. And when Mark Blundell's crash brought out the caution on lap 171, the battle in the pits heated up. Montoya came in after leading 168 of the first 171 laps and left still in the lead, but with a broken pop-off valve. Montoya was forced to return to pit road and fix the problem, dropping him to 8th place and eventually a 7th place finish.
The pop-off valve is controlled by an electrical lead that regulates the boost. In the pit stop, the air jack line inadvertently got wrapped around the valve. And when they pulled it off, it knocked the lead off.
Andretti found himself with the lead, and his run of luck continued. Tony Kanaan blew up directly in front of Michael, who drove through the smoke and then was able to hold off a hard-charging Dario Franchitti for the win.
It was just one of those days that everything went right. I mean, the Ganassi guys were pretty tough today, but, you know, luck went our way for once.
With the win in Japan, Michael moves into a 3rd-place tie with Al Unser Sr. in the career wins list. He has a long way to go, though, to catch his father Mario, who has 52 career victories. A.J. Foyt tops the list with 67 total wins, including 4 victories in the Indianapolis 500. When we come back, the professor answers your email questions. If you have a question or a comment for us here at RPM Tonight, log on to the internet. Visit ESPN.com, part of the Go Network, go.com. Follow the auto racing link to our email link. Benny Parsons is back with us along with his race car to answer this week's email questions. The first one comes from John in Florida. Dear Benny, what exactly happens when a throttle sticks open?
Well, John, first thing, the car continues to go in at full throttle, but here's some things that cause the throttle to stick open. You see the air cleaner or air filter housing that fits down over the carburetor. John, if you lift that off, you see under the housing, here's the carburetor linkage, and sometimes that linkage will stick on the bottom of this air filter housing. Other times, and this is probably about 75% of the time, there's a Venturi booster that goes down in the carburetor right there. It fits flush in the carburetor and hangs down in the Venturi. Sometimes that Venturi breaks off flush with the carburetor. And what happens when that does, it falls down in the carburetor. When you back off the accelerator, it hangs open, and that'll keep the car going at full speed. And these return springs on the carburetors, sometimes these will break, causing the accelerator to hang.
Monty from Virginia writes in our next email question, Professor, when Winston Cup cars qualify, are they full of gas or do they run with the minimum amount?
Monty, those NASCAR Winston Cup cars go through inspection on any given weekend at least 3 times. When they first get there, when they go to qualify, and when they go to race, they're inspected. And they have to meet a minimum weight of 3,400 pounds. And to meet that minimum weight, all those cars, I think every one of those cars would have to be full of fuel.
The next one comes from Doc, who lives in Massachusetts. Do Winston Cup cars use anything but water as a coolant for their engines?
Sometimes, Doc, if it's real hot, they will use antifreeze because it does have, runs a little bit cooler than water. But most of the teams run water, and they put some things inside the radiator to try to help seal leaks. And one of the things that some of the teams use is egg preserver.
Egg preserver.
Egg preserver.
You're making that up, aren't you?
No, I'm telling the truth.
All right, Benny, thank you very much for allowing us to use your race car, and we'll talk to you again next week.
All right, John.
Back to wrap things up in just a moment.
Strap in for intense Indy coverage live from the Brickyard. Watch ESPN2 every night this week at 5 for the Indy Live Daily Report. Then tune in all weekend long for our exclusive Indy Time Trials coverage, beginning Saturday at noon Eastern on ESPN.
Don't forget, we have all the action of practice at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway covered for you right here on ESPN2. Every day this week from 5 to 7, Bob Jenkins and crew bring you the latest stories from the Brickyard as the drivers and their teams prepare for qualifying this weekend. It's the Indy Live Daily Report, only on ESPN2. Mark Gibson came away the winner in Sunday's Penda Truck Accessories 300 ARCA race. Gibson drove to the victory after starting 13th. Bobby Gerhart rolled off 24th, but wound up finishing second. Shauna Robinson had the top, finishing fourth in the race, 6th place. We're back here again Tuesday night at 7 Eastern. We'll check in with Dr. Jerry Punch as practice for the 84th Indianapolis 500 continues. And Jan Beekes will wrap up all the happenings in the Kart FedEx Championship Series. See you then. Good night, everybody.
RPM Tonight is a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of the Go Network, go.com.